The stories of Herodias, Athaliah, and Jezebel reveal a dark side of biblical history filled with manipulation, betrayal, and murder. These women were deeply entwined in power struggles, their actions shaping the course of nations and challenging the moral fabric of their times. Let's explore their notorious lives and how they stand as the most wicked women in the Bible. In third place, Herodias. To understand Herodias' wickedness, we must first look at her relationship with John the Baptist. John the Baptist, a prophet known for his fearless condemnation of sin, attracted large crowds with his fiery message of repentance. His influence extended far, and he didn't hesitate to speak out against the moral failings of even the most powerful figures. John the Baptist publicly denounced the marriage between Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee, and Herodias. Herodias had been married to Herod Antipas's brother Philip before divorcing him to marry Herod. This marriage was considered sinful under Jewish law because it violated the laws regarding marriage to one's brother's wife, Leviticus 18:16. John condemned their union, and this public criticism enraged Herodias. Herodias' desire for revenge simmered as John's popularity and influence grew. She longed to silence him, but Herod Antipas, though intrigued by John's message, was initially reluctant to kill him. However, under pressure he imprisoned John, but that wasn't enough for Herodias. The pivotal moment in her story came during a grand feast hosted by Herod Antipas. Herodias instructed her daughter Salome to dance before Herod, knowing her seductive performance would captivate him. The dance pleased Herod so much that he promised to grant her any wish. Salome, under the manipulation of her mother, requested the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Although Herod was distressed by the request, he had made an oath in front of his guests and felt obligated to fulfill it. Thus, John the Baptist was beheaded, his life cut short at the whim of Herodias' deadly manipulation. Herodias stands as a figure of vindictive cruelty, using her daughter and husband's power to fulfill her dark desires. In second place, Athaliah. Athaliah's story is one of ambition and ruthless power. She was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, two of the most corrupt rulers of Israel, and she followed in their footsteps with her thirst for control. Her marriage to Jehoram, king of Judah, made her queen, but her ambition did not stop there. After her son Ahaziah was killed, Athaliah saw an opportunity to seize the throne for herself. In a brutal and unprecedented move, Athaliah ordered the massacre of all the royal heirs of Judah, including her own grandchildren, in a bid to secure her position. This act of mass murder was an attempt to wipe out the Davidic lineage, the royal line that carried God's promise of a Messiah who would come from the house of David. However, one heir, Joash, was hidden away by Jehosheba, the sister of Ahaziah, and her husband Jehoiada, the high priest. They kept Joash hidden in the temple for 6 years while Athaliah ruled Judah with an iron fist, promoting Baal worship and leading the people further into idolatry. When Joash came of age, Jehoiada orchestrated a coup, bringing the boy out of hiding and crowning him king in a dramatic public ceremony. The people rejoiced at the restoration of the Davidic line, and Athaliah, realizing that her reign was over, cried out, "Treason, treason!" But her cries fell on deaf ears. She was captured and executed at the palace, marking the end of her reign of terror. Athaliah's story stands as one of betrayal, ambition, and the consequences of forsaking God's promises for personal gain. Her attempt to destroy the Davidic line was a direct challenge to God's covenant, and her downfall illustrates the ultimate triumph of divine justice. In first place, Jezebel. At the top of the list is Jezebel, one of the most infamous women in biblical history. Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, became queen when she married Ahab, king of Israel. From the moment she entered Israel's history, Jezebel's influence was one of corruption, manipulation, and idolatry. She introduced the worship of Baal, a foreign god, to Israel and actively promoted it, leading the nation away from the worship of Yahweh. Jezebel's zeal for Baal worship was matched by her cruelty. She orchestrated the slaughter of the prophets of Yahweh, relentlessly persecuting anyone who stood against her pagan agenda. Her most notable adversary was the prophet Elijah, who condemned her actions and prophesied her eventual downfall. One of the clearest examples of Jezebel's wickedness is found in the story of Naboth's vineyard. Naboth owned a vineyard near Ahab's palace, and Ahab coveted it. However, when Naboth refused to sell his family's inheritance to the king, Ahab sulked in frustration. Seeing her husband's distress, Jezebel took matters into her own hands. She devised a plot to falsely accuse Naboth of blasphemy and treason. She arranged for false witnesses to testify against him, and as a result, Naboth was stoned to death, allowing Ahab to take possession of the vineyard. This act of cold-blooded murder for personal gain demonstrated the depth of Jezebel's wickedness. Her willingness to pervert justice and use her royal influence to destroy innocent lives made her a symbol of corruption. But Jezebel's reign of terror did not go unchallenged. The prophet Elijah confronted Ahab and Jezebel, declaring that divine judgment would fall upon them for their sins. He prophesied that dogs would devour Jezebel's body at the walls of Jezreel. Years later, after Ahab's death, Elijah's prophecy came true. Jezebel, still clinging to power, was confronted by Jehu, a military leader who had been anointed by God to cleanse Israel of its corruption. As Jehu approached Jezebel's palace, she attempted to seduce him with her beauty and charm, but Jehu was unmoved. He ordered her to be thrown from the window of her palace, and her body was trampled by horses and eaten by dogs, just as Elijah had foretold. Jezebel's death was as violent and ignominious as her life, a fitting end for a woman whose influence had brought so much suffering to Israel. Her legacy lives on as a cautionary tale of the dangers of idolatry, manipulation, and the misuse of power. The stories of Herodias, Athaliah, and Jezebel stand as stark reminders of how unchecked ambition, manipulation, and wickedness can lead to destruction. These women, driven by power and personal gain, disregarded the laws of God and brought devastation to those around them. Yet their stories also illustrate the triumph of divine justice. In the end, each of these women met a fitting and tragic demise, showing that no matter how powerful one might seem, God's justice will prevail. Herodias' manipulation led to the death of one of the greatest prophets, but she could not escape the consequences of her actions. Athaliah's ambition nearly wiped out the royal line of David, but God's promise was preserved through Joash. Jezebel's reign of terror spread idolatry and violence across Israel, but she could not avoid the divine retribution prophesied by Elijah. In reflecting on these stories, we are reminded of the importance of righteousness, humility, and adherence to God's will. The Bible warns against the dangers of power unchecked by morality, and the lives of these women serve as vivid examples of what happens when we forsake divine principles for personal gain. If you enjoyed today's exploration of these biblical figures, please leave a comment and let us know which story resonated with you the most. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more insights from the Bible. Thank you for watching, and may God's peace and blessings be with you.